Early Thursday trading saw Nvidia shares drop 0.3% to $216.74, continuing a run of comparatively poor performance. By Wednesday's closing, the stock had increased 17% this year, far less than the PHLX Semiconductor Index's 66% increase during the same timeframe. Several analysts anticipate that Nvidia would surpass market estimates for the July quarter and improve its projection for the current quarter, which could help close the gap. Nvidia's earnings release is scheduled for next Wednesday. In a research note this week, Stifel analyst Ruben Roy reaffirmed his $282 price objective for Nvidia. Roy anticipates that Nvidia will surpass the consensus estimate of $2.09 per share in adjusted earnings on $91.96 billion in revenue. A price-to-earnings multiple of 22 times his projection for Nvidia's fiscal 2028 earnings forms the basis of his price objective. In advance of the results report next week, Oppenheimer also reaffirmed his outperform rating and $265 price target. The company anticipates that Nvidia's third-quarter outlook and second-quarter earnings will improve due to Blackwell Ultra. In order to sustain momentum in the second half of the year, it is anticipated that its next-generation VR200 will increase during the current quarter. Between 2025 and 2027, Oppenheimer estimates that GB200, GB300, and VR200 will generate more than $1 trillion in revenue. According to the company, Nvidia maintains its edge in performance per watt by introducing AI accelerators on a yearly basis. Additionally, Oppenheimer emphasized tokens per minute and cost per token as crucial indicators of AI performance, stating that Nvidia continues to lead the industry in both training and inference token creation and cost. Nvidia's full-stack AI platform, which consists of GPUs, networking switches, NICs, InfiniBand, Ethernet, NVLink, and CUDA, is another factor supporting the company's optimistic outlook. Additionally, analysts at Analysts stated that they anticipate another beat-and-raise quarter from Nvidia, citing robust trends in capital investment among companies and hyperscalers. Nvidia's fair value is estimated by analysts to be $280. The company's funding arrangements, growing competition in the semiconductor business, and worries about AI spending have all contributed to Nvidia's comparatively poor performance this year. Cantor analysts refuted claims that Nvidia is essentially purchasing revenue through its financial agreements. The company reaffirmed its buy rating and stated that Nvidia's most recent deal is an unmistakable indication that the current AI investment cycle will be long-lasting. The analyst stated, "We see this less as circular and more as facilitating the upcoming AI build-out, while also creating additional competitive moats that will allow Nvidia to remain the AI leader." Nvidia has been able to return funds to shareholders while investing throughout the AI ecosystem thanks to its significant cash generation. In May, the business launched a fresh $80 billion stock buyback plan and increased its quarterly dividend from 1 penny to 25 cents per share. Additionally, Nvidia promised to give shareholders back around half of its free cash flow this year. Nvidia's ability to turn ongoing investments in AI infrastructure into revenue growth while addressing investor concerns about financing, competition, and the sustainability of spending across the sector will be put to the test in next week's earnings release. According to persons familiar with the situation, Nvidia and the Korean AI chip creator Rebellions are in early talks about potential partnerships, investments, or even acquisitions. According to insiders who asked not to be named because the information is confidential, Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang met with Rebellion's co-founder and CEO Sunghyun Park this week at the U.S. company's Santa Clara, California headquarters to discuss a possible partnership. In recent years, Huang has spearheaded a massive investment drive as Nvidia strives to hold on to its pivotal position in the age of artificial intelligence. Prominent startups have been involved in those transactions. Nvidia and U.S. AI company Grok reached an unusual agreement in late 2025 that allowed Nvidia to acquire a non-exclusive license and hire the majority of Grok's engineering staff. Grok continues to operate freely and manage its cloud business, according to Nvidia, therefore it wasn't an acquisition. Rebellions, a South Korean company situated in Bundong, has raised over $850 million from investors including as SK Hynix Inc., Samsung Ventures, and ARM Holdings plc. Its most recent valuation was approximately $2.3 billion. Additionally, it has obtained a direct investment from the Korean government. According to the persons, discussions between Nvidia and six-year-old rebellions are in the early stages and might not result in a deal. Requests for response from Nvidia were not answered. Rebellion's spokesperson declined to comment. Rebellion's, one of several semiconductor firms creating and implementing their own chips to compete with industry giant Nvidia, was founded in the midst of the pandemic in 2020. The company focuses in data center neural processing units that are suited for AI inference tasks. Inference is the higher volume task needed to provide AI services at scale, although it requires less processing power than AI training. Nvidia must be cautious of antitrust criticism because it controls such a large portion of the semiconductors used to train AI models, such as those from OpenAI and Anthropic PBC. In the tech sector, major purchases usually require approval from government agencies like the U.S. Department of Justice. In Korea, where semiconductors are considered vital strategic assets, an acquisition-like arrangement might potentially be subject to governmental scrutiny. Leading memory chip producers Samsung Electronics and SK Hynix collaborate closely with the Korean government on new investment initiatives. Among the most well-liked artificial intelligence, AI stock options available are Nvidia, AMD, and Intel. Nvidia hasn't performed nearly as well as the other two in 2026, despite being a preferred choice from the start of the AI arms race in 2023. This year, AMD is up 126%, Nvidia is up 18%, and Intel is leading the way with a gain of 162%. You're thrilled if you purchased AMD and Intel at the beginning of the year. You're probably rather dissatisfied if you purchased Nvidia instead. But just now, none of that is important. Rather, investors should consider which stock would be the best investment for the upcoming year. Wall Street analysts provide one-year price projections to help explain where they believe the stock will go, but it's usually not a good idea to utilize just one analyst because there are always one or two who have ridiculous predictions about the stock's future. On the other hand, a reasonable consensus pick is typically produced when all analysts that follow a stock are combined. If we do so, it discloses some intriguing details about the equities and makes it evident that there is one big winner, one mediocre choice, and one that investors should think about selling. What are the opinions of the analysts? Nvidia, the worst performing stock of 2026, is currently trading at roughly $220, but Wall Street analysts have an average one-year price objective of 303 years. With a 38% upside forecast for a single year, the market would be easily crushed, and Nvidia would become a top-performing company. AMD comes next. With a one-year price target of $613, AMD is now priced at $484. That shows a 27% increase, which is higher than the market's average return, but lower than Nvidia's. Intel comes last and has an intriguing dynamic. It has an average price objective of $115 and is presently trading at $97 a share. Although it is poorer than the other two, the projected gain of 19% is still not too bad. But 32 of the 48 analysts who cover it say it's a hold. Although a hold in the eyes of experts might indicate many different things, the truth is that the analyst community has serious concerns about Intel's stock, and the company has underperformed the market in the last two updates. After the U.S. government and Nvidia made significant investments in Intel to prevent its foundry business from failing, Intel has recovered from its low points. Intel needs to locate some important customers as it revitalizes this business segment, and many would be reluctant to leave its present provider. Despite being somewhat more expensive than Nvidia, Intel's valuation is comparable to AMD's. Analysts worry that Intel's stock has too much resurrection built in, but I would argue the same thing about AMD's stock. Both AMD and Intel are highly priced and are trading on the hope that a significant turnaround will occur in the coming years. Nvidia, on the other hand, is expected to dominate over the coming years and doesn't require a turnaround, despite the fact that the stock is trading at a fair price. Nvidia is, in my opinion, the finest purchase out of the three. Nvidia is simply too inexpensive to overlook today, even though the expert community may have market-beating expectations for AMD and Intel's equities.
Making the case that don't judge us as chip makers the way you've traditionally judged us, because this time's different. Is that the message?
And I agree. I mean, if someone like myself has been to Korea so many times, you see the changes, because the reality is you count on one hand the amount of memory players. And when it comes to the AI revolution, everything that we're seeing, right now, demand and supply, 15 to 1 when it comes to what we see from a memory perspective. And that's why, obviously, Apple is a good example, need to pay more in memory. And there's just no way around it. This is not cyclical. This continues to be really foundational.
What if it's still cyclical? The duration of that cyclicality has just been elongated. Is that fair, or have we literally entered into a more secular time for chips because of the level of demand and how it's not going to dissipate anytime soon?
Yeah, it's a great point. That's definitely like a hot sort of debate, in my opinion.
Because it matters for valuations, doesn't it?
Of course. And to me, I think it's changed. It's no longer, the cyclicality at one point will come back, but I don't think you have true equilibrium till late 2028, early 2029. Based on the trajectory of what we're seeing today. And I think that's why we're going to continue to have these ebbs and flows, no different than we saw with the Kospi and Korea and some of these sort of white knuckle moments. But the reality, and I think it's further instituted what we've seen from the hyperscalers in terms of demand, what you see in terms of enterprise use cases, memory players, it's right now, it's their world and everyone else is paying rent.
So the valuation of Micron, for example, on a forward basis is like 6.5, 6.6, something like that. Is that where it should be? Is that cheap? I mean, how do you assess that, given if you're a true believer in what the CEO just said as an investor, then if I agree with you, what do I do? 6.7 times.
Yeah, I think right now, I mean, investors are valuing these companies, this cyclicality, and they're basically giving no credit to what ultimately I believe is going to be the demand over the coming years. Scott, I think it's no different than what we saw like with Nvidia. You know, if we just think over the last few months, as these companies prove it, the valuation will ultimately then start to I think manifest and actually generate what should be less cyclicality and really more of a multi-year cycle that's going to continue to play. There's no way around it, because even when some say, okay, there could be Chinese memory players or there's an alternative, Korea holds the cards when it comes to memory. And I think that there's no changes that I see in the future.
And there's no implication at all for excess ordering or double or triple ordering because you can't get what you need. And eventually it's going to catch up, and then that's when the problem happens because people have ordered too much, even if there's robust demand.
Yeah, and that's been a worry. But right now you got to get online to get those chips. And I think part of what we're seeing in terms of everything from a use case, from hyperscalers, from a demand perspective, it's just accelerating. So I don't think that we are near any sort of point of sort of over-ordering or worries about inventory and then they cut back. And I think that's something where it's further validated from the hyperscalers, obviously companies like Palantir, software companies, chip makers. It's a Jenga puzzle when you put it all together. And I think more and more it's really starting to play out from a bull.
Well, Bill Dudley says that a lot of metrics are flashing warning signals. Among them, Buffett signals, you know, that things that Buffett watches, whether it's GDP compared to valuations, et cetera. Do you see or agree with any of those warning signals that Bill Dudley sees?
Hey, Liz, and thanks for having me. And look, I read that piece as well. And, look, the reality is that, eventually the market's going to pull back. But we have a very strongly and firmly supported, rally here. And I think a metric I always like to reference when talking to clients about this, we go back to 2023, the NASDAQ's up about 175% since then. That's a great rally. If you go back to 1995, the NASDAQ was up nearly 1,100% from 95 through the end of that decade. And so the point is, this can go on for a very long time. And we have a very firmly supported market with underlying earnings. And so, I do disagree. And I guess that's what makes a market.
Yeah. Well, let's just say Bill Dudley is right for the moment. What would you recommend people shed, pare back, trim from their portfolio?
Well, I think when we look at this AI super cycle, one of the things that we have seen, we first saw the hyperscalers and those spending the money really being the main beneficiaries. The next handoff, of course, we've seen those receiving the money this year on the AI infrastructure side of things. And we have seen a little volatility there, some pullback the last couple of months. And we still see volatility in that. And I think what's next is going to be rewarding those that are actually using that AI. And I saw, your last guest, the CEO of John Deere, love to hear that commentary where they're actually integrating AI in their business. And that's going to be the next, parts of the AI trade that are going to be rewarded. And there's a lot of places to look for that.
Well, speaking of AI, you're actually market neutral on Nvidia and Broadcom. Nvidia reports earnings next Wednesday. Jensen Huang will be on the show Thursday. I want people to know that and mark that down. But what does it need to show you to become a buyer and to put in that buy program?
Sure. And I think one of the surprising things that a lot of folks wouldn't realize when you look at the Mag 7, for example, year to date, it's actually flat, hasn't participated in any of the gains on the AI infrastructure side of things. When you look at, Nvidia and then Broadcom is going to be, the week after, they're kind of the bottom tier of the entire semiconductor stack. Their valuations on a forward-looking basis are also down 20 to 30% on the year. But one thing I would be, cautious on with them before earnings is, historically, they tend to have pretty weak surprises because we're at the end of